About 3,000 automobile travelers in the heyday of Route 66 were lucky enough to have this handy little book packed into their glove compartment, a guidebook to Highway 66. It was the first highway travel book in the U.S. and was written by Jack D. Rittenhouse, a writer and ad man from Michigan. He had traveled the 2,448 miles and recorded the mileage between stops, noted where to get gas, where to find food or a restaurant, where to find a motor court, and commented on the sights along the way. Jack's mobile office was an economical 1939 American Bantam equipped with a pencil and notebook resting on the passenger seat. Jack listed Acoma in the Pueblo land of New Mexico, just 60 miles west of Albuquerque, as a must-see. So that's where we're headed. 15 miles south of Albuquerque, we pass through the Pueblo of Isleta in search of a mission church. On the way, we pass a vintage DQ, a funny bird, and a photography shop. St. Augustine de Isleta, established in 1613, looked like a cloud rising to the sky. Next, we pass through the village of Los Lunas. We enjoy the big open sky and the enchanted mesas. An old neon sign once beckoned travelers. 2 mission churches are ahead. Sangre de Cristo Catholic Church Valencia and Our Lady of Guadalupe. Back on the road and 40 miles outside of Albuquerque, we're in the foothills of Mount Taylor as we enter Laguna Pueblo, a community of 7,700 with 500,000 acres. It's one of the largest pueblos in the state. Laguna Pueblo was well known to tourists of the Southwest because Santa Fe Railroad's tracks once ran right to their doorstep. 6 villages dot the pueblo: Laguna, Mesita, Pascualte, Ansanal, Paraja, and Cima. As we approach Laguna, the mission church is perched on the hillside. San Jose de la Laguna Mission Church and Convento, historic site. It dates back to 1699 after the Pueblo Revolt. It's one of the best preserved examples of mission revival architecture in the United States. San Jose, or St. Joseph, was the patron saint of both Laguna and its neighbor, Acoma. We are welcome to Pueblo of Acoma, or Sky City, the oldest continuously inhabited city in the United States. Crowning a 365-foot tall mesa, this protected village has existed for over 2,000 years. The elders say that its name means the place that always was. Access to the summit throughout history was through a series of handcrafted steps and through holes between rocks. Perhaps that's why the early Spanish conquistadors called it a strange place built on solid rock and one of the strongest places we have ever seen. Today, fewer than 50 of the 5,000 Acoma live on the top of the mesa. Many of those residents tend to the mission church, San Esteban del Rey Mission, completed in 1640. The interior displays symbols of Catholicism and of ancient Native American worship. Since 1950, roads have been blasted into the side of the mesa to allow buses and commercial vehicles to access. Tourists bus to the top of the mesa stop for a cool drink. They stroll the streets of Acoma looking at the ancient buildings. Perhaps they note the outdoor ovens, and the fry bread is available to be purchased. You'll see tables set up with pottery. Acoma is known for some of the most beautiful pottery in the world, thin-walled, made of a local clay mixed with shards of old pottery. Annually, Acoma receives 55,000 visitors. They visit the culture center, the museum, and listen to the tour guide tell the story of Acoma. The story is that of Spanish occupation and an attempt to colonize a fearful, defensive people who had witnessed enslavement of others made to work in the silver mines. They were attacked, the village burned, 800 killed. Men over 25 had a foot amputated and were enslaved. Males 12 to 25 and females over 12 were enslaved. Spanish rule brought Catholicism, and a challenge to their ancient ways. They were forced to speak Spanish. They built mission churches. Oh, and don't forget the European diseases for which the Native Americans had no immunity. At times, the Spanish joined forces against the warring Navajo, Apache, and Ute. In 1680, Acoma joined a Pueblo revolt with others in the area. Many of these formed the Laguna community. We'll save the story of the Enchanted Mesa for your tour.
Grass, a peace of mind, sage to clear my soul, prayers carried through the smoke, a quest to make me whole.
The elders of Acoma keep the oral tradition alive and teach their English-speaking children and grandchildren the Carisan language, the language of the Pueblos. Certainly, the elders tell the young of the dispute between Acoma and Laguna in the 1600s. Father Ramirez had gifted Acoma with an oil painting of the patron saint, San Jose. Both Pueblos believed that the painting had supernatural powers and would bring good fortune. Laguna was suffering disease and drought and needed some good fortune. They asked to borrow the painting but were denied. After all, it was their patron saint as well. People of Laguna came to Acoma and stole the painting. The conflict brewed for 100 years when a young Acoma man traveled to Laguna. On his way to right the situation, he encountered an image leaning on a mesquite tree in the canyon between the two pueblos. It was St. Joseph, or San Jose. The Acoma say that St. Joseph was so anxious to get back to Acoma that he left himself. And with that resolved, we leave Acoma, a place that always was, with a new understanding of the struggles of this rich Native American culture and of the creolization that is New Mexico. Thank you, Jack Rittenhouse, for recommending this side trip. We understand that you spent the last chapters of your life living in Albuquerque and probably revisiting Acoma, the Sky City, the place that always was. Jack Rittenhouse was asked this question in 1983 by Davey Delgado. Which were the first wheels to roll on what is now Route 66? To this he answered, Spanish carretas in 1540.